It feels like lately, almost every time you open up X, there's a new headline involving Elon Musk, and it's often not about his innovative companies, but about his very public and online behavior. Let's really get into this, because it's a fascinating turn for such a prominent figure. The meltdown tweets and public showdowns. What we're seeing from Elon on X isn't just a CEO being active on social media. It's a consistent pattern of what many are describing as a meltdown. It's characterized by these direct, often harsh, public confrontations with pretty much anyone who crosses him or expresses a viewpoint he disagrees with. He's not just tweeting. He's engaging in these prolonged online battles, sometimes with very powerful individuals or institutions. Think about the recent public spat with Donald Trump. It's a prime example of this shift. For a while there, it seemed like they had a pretty cozy relationship, a sort of bromance, as some might have called it. Elon even had that brief stint as a, quote, special government employee, advising the Trump administration on efficiency, working on things like the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. He was seen as someone with an ear to the ground in political circles. For a while, it seemed like there was a mutual respect, or at least a strategic alliance. But now, it's a full-blown public feud, and it's playing out very much like a gladiatorial contest on X. Elon's been lambasting Trump's legislative agenda, calling a key bill a, quote, disgusting abomination, and even urging senators to kill it. He's also escalated things by bringing up past controversies, like directly alleging Trump's involvement in the Jeffrey Epstein files, which is a pretty explosive claim to just drop on a social media platform. And of course, Trump, not one to back down, has fired right back, threatening to cut off billions in federal contracts and subsidies to Elon's companies. He's even suggested that Elon has, quote, totally lost it. This isn't just typical political banter. It's a deeply personal, high-stakes exchange that's happening in plain sight for the whole world to see. It's definitely moved beyond friendly banter to a full-on bitter battlefield. This meltdown isn't exclusive to political figures. We've seen him go after advertisers who pulled their spending from X, famously telling them to go F times yourself. He's criticized former employees, taken aim at news organizations he perceives as biased, and generally adopted a much more aggressive and confrontational tone. It's almost like the gloves are entirely off, and he's decided to lean into the role of the public provocateur, the SEC rep, from innovator to instigator. For a long time, Elon Musk was widely regarded as one of the most brilliant innovators of our time. He was seen as a visionary, the kind of person who could turn science fiction into reality. Think about Tesla and SpaceX, electric cars becoming mainstream, reusable rockets landing back on Earth. These were paradigm shifts, and he was the driving force behind them. He embodied that move fast and break things Silicon Valley ethos, but with a tangible, world-changing outcome. He was the one pushing humanity forward. However, over the past few years, and especially since his acquisition of Twitter, there's been a noticeable and pretty sharp shift in his public image. He's increasingly seen less as the visionary innovator, and more as a controversial instigator. The focus has moved away from his technological breakthroughs, and onto his often erratic and divisive behavior online. This isn't just an opinion, it's reflected in public sentiment. Recent polls, like the Axios Harris 100, have shown a pretty dramatic drop in the reputation of his flagship companies. Tesla, for instance, which used to be in the top 10 of most visible brands, has plummeted. SpaceX, too, has seen a significant decline. While X itself might have seen a tiny bump, it's still way down there in the rankings. This indicates that his personal brand and the controversies he generates are now directly impacting how people view his businesses. When the face of companies like Tesla, which relies on consumer trust and aspiration, or SpaceX, which works closely with government agencies, becomes so closely associated with public feuds and inflammatory statements, it creates a real problem. It makes people question the leadership, the stability, and even the values behind these companies. Customers who once bought a Tesla because it represented innovation and sustainability might now reconsider if they feel the brand is tied to a polarizing figure. It's a very tangible erosion of goodwill. Decay from influence to relevance. Let's talk about X itself. When Elon bought Twitter, he talked about it becoming X, the everything app, a global town square dedicated to free speech. At that point, Twitter certainly had immense influence. It was where news broke, where conversations happened, and where public opinion was shaped. He had a massive platform and seemed poised to amplify its global reach. But what we've witnessed since then, largely driven by his own actions, is a significant decay in its perceived relevance, especially for broader public discourse and, critically, for advertisers. While he still has millions of followers, the platform has become far more polarized. His decisions, like reinstating controversial accounts and changing content moderation policies, have alienated a huge chunk of the user base and, perhaps more damagingly, a vast number of advertisers. The exodus of major advertisers has been well documented. Brands pulled their spending due to concerns about brand safety, the spread of misinformation, and the increasingly toxic environment. This directly impacts X's revenue. We've seen reports that advertising revenue remains significantly lower than pre-acquisition levels, despite some efforts to bring advertisers back. When a platform is primarily viewed as a vehicle for personal grievances and heated arguments, it loses its appeal as a place for brands to showcase themselves or for the general public to engage in constructive dialogue. His constant, often salty tweets and his willingness to jump into direct, sometimes petty, arguments with users fundamentally changed the nature of X. It's less of a neutral public forum and more of his personal megaphone and battleground. This shift has eroded its foundational role as a reliable source of information and a neutral space for public communication. When the owner is perceived as an instigator, it inevitably colors every interaction on the platform. The cost, heavy price for brand and companies. Fallout from all of this is not just theoretical. It has very real, very heavy costs for Elon Musk's brand and, by extension, his entire portfolio of companies. First, there's the direct financial impact. The recent Trump feud, for instance, saw Tesla's stock take a significant hit. Some estimates put the market value loss in the tens of billions of dollars just from that one public spat. Trump's threats to cut off federal contracts for SpaceX are also extremely serious. SpaceX depends heavily on government contracts for launches and for its Starlink satellite internet service, so any disruption there could mean billions in lost revenue and a massive hurdle for future growth. It's a direct connection between his public words and his company's bottom lines. Then, there's the broader brand damage. For companies that were once seen as aspirational and forward-thinking, the constant controversies surrounding their CEO are a major liability. It makes it harder to attract new customers, especially those who prefer to keep their consumer choices separate from political drama. It also impacts employee morale and recruitment. Top talent often seeks stable, respected organizations, and a company whose leader is frequently embroiled in public feuds might become less appealing. You even hear of Tesla owners putting stickers on their cars saying things like, "I bought this Tesla before Elon went crazy." That's a direct symptom of brand dissonance. Beyond that, the regulatory scrutiny is a constant shadow. Elon's history with the SEC over his tweets is well known. From the funding-secured tweet that led to a settlement to more recent issues regarding his disclosure of Twitter stock, the SEC is always watching. His public statements, especially about his companies, have the potential to move markets, and any perception of misleading information can lead to further investigations and hefty penalties. His direct attacks on political figures also invite closer scrutiny from lawmakers and government bodies, which could lead to legislative actions that directly impact his businesses. Finally, there's the issue of focus and distraction. Running multiple multi-billion-dollar companies like Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and X requires immense focus and strategic vision. When a CEO is constantly engaged in public spats, defending himself, or even initiating these conflicts, it raises questions about how much mental and emotional energy is truly being dedicated to the core business operations. It can be a massive distraction for him and, by extension, for the entire leadership teams of his companies, who might find themselves constantly reacting to or trying to mitigate the fallout from his online activities. So while Elon Musk's online presence certainly keeps him in the headlines, the cost of this meltdown for his personal brand, his companies, and his overall legacy as an innovator seems to be mounting rapidly. It's a stark reminder that even for someone of his stature, words carry a heavy weight, and the consequences can be incredibly far-reaching.